Welcome everybody to the meeting of the local review body today. My name is Jim McLean and I am the Vice Chair of the local review body. The members present here today are myself, Councillor Paul Edlin, Councillor Chris Lundy and Provost Montague. The officers present here today are Jennifer Graham and Leona Allison, the Committee Services Officer to the local review body, Eamon Daly, Democratic Services Manager, John Burke, Committee Services Officer, Jerry Mallon, Chief of Legal and Procurement, and Mark Brand is the Independent Planning Advisor to the local review body. He has had no involvement in the processing of any of the planning applications or review bodies which we are subject to review. Do we have any reports of absence?
I do, Chair. I have apologies from Councillors Ireland, Morrison and Cunningham.
Thank you, Mr Burke. Are there any declarations of interest today? Sorry, there's no declarations of interest. Are we happy that we have enough information to continue today?
I'm not sure about that. Can I just clarify?
Do we have enough information?
If you don't, I'll explain to Provost if you want. It's really just to confirm that the local review body has sufficient information in relation to the case to allow it to continue to consider the case today. For example, you could think if you had insufficient information, you could ask for further information, but if you feel that you have sufficient information contained in the documentation today, you just confirm that and you can go ahead and proceed to deal with the case.
Sorry, so just within the report is page 25 and it's the Roads Department's comments, and they're talking about the concerns about road safety, and page 26, the very last line, it says if the aforementioned comments can be addressed, the Roads Service may reconsider its position. So I'm just wondering the kind of process, if we were concerned about road safety, but we couldn't be specific because we're not specialist roads engineers, would the meeting be adjourned until we got the information? So it's really just to know the process, what are the options for us, rather than say refuse on the grounds of road safety and then do they put in another application, or is there another way of handling it without either being accepting of it all, refusing it because what amendments there might be I don't feel qualified to be specific about.
Thank you, Provost. Could you clarify that, Mr Brand, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor, if you just allow me to check the dates when those comments were made. The issue would be when Roads made those comments, if it was when they were given the application or sort of subsequently. So what, just to be absolutely clear that we're looking at the same comments, can you repeat? Page 26.
Mark, you're looking at the wrong paper, so it's page 26. This one, which is headed up 2D. Now your pages don't have numbers. You've got the numbers set, so you're looking at the page that starts 2D.
2D, okay. Right. Just bear with me.
It's the page which contains the actual form which has been received from the Roads Service and refers to the B77. It starts the
right.
B77.
I've got it. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So this was that page.
Yeah.
Down.
Yeah. Okay. The date on that is. Okay, Chair, I've had a look at the paper in question. This was given to the planning case officer on 15th of March 21, which was while during the normal determination of the case. Those comments would have reflected the information which was submitted in the application at that time. There was subsequent change of plans which came in later, but the only change which the roads department made was with reference to there were originally 4 objections or recommendations for refusal from roads on parking, visibility, the turning circle, and the pedestrian access. Now, those comments have all 4 of those objections. When a further plan was submitted by the applicant, the roads department dropped the objection to pedestrian access because that had changed. The other 3 reasons for recommendations for refusal, the 90-metre visibility display, the sufficiency of car parking, and the turning circle for an HDV were maintained. So if that answers your question about do you have enough information?
Sorry, so thanks, Mr. Bennett. Sorry, I should have read out just as a point of order and for clarity. I should have said the review of what it actually is. I didn't say that actually. It's we visited one site today, and there was external alterations and change of use of formal social club to commercial units comprising a retail unit Class 1, 2 number hot food takeaway units sui generis, and a Class 2 unit. Alterations to car park layout of access. The address is the Columbia Club, 69 Darnley Road, Barhead, G781TA, and the reference number is 2021/0911/TP. Provost, would you like to make any comment on Mr. Brandt's comments?
Thank you very much, Chair. No, I'll agree that we have sufficient information. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Provost. Mr. Brand, would you like to go through the application then? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I've summarised the application both from the point of view of the case officer and of the appellant. The application is in Ward 4. There were 3 objections to this application. The reasons for objection were road safety, loss of trees, noise, lighting, pollution, and hours of operation. It is worth noting that our environmental health team raised no objections to noise, lighting, and stated that hours of operation can be controlled by condition. The case officer's report concluded that the proposal is considered to be generally in accordance with policy D2, which deals with residential amenity. This consideration is based on the fact that the previous use at the site was a social club, which may already have resulted in adverse amenity locally. It is therefore considered that the proposal would not result in significant loss of amenity with its new use. With regards to the proposed change of use from leisure to hairdresser and retail units, the proposal generally aligns with policies D1, D2 and SG10. However, the case officer gave the following reasons for refusal. In that, the first reason would be that the proposal would create 2 hot food takeaways out with the town centre and this is contrary to policy SG10. The case officer noted that the Roads Department recommended refusal on the following grounds: the sufficiency of car parking spaces, it hadn't been fully demonstrated that large vehicles can enter or exit in forward gear, and the visibility display of 90 metres to each side of the access point had not been demonstrated. The proposal therefore was contrary to policy D1 in that it would have an adverse impact on public safety. The third reason for refusal was the proposal is contrary to policy D7 because it would result in the loss of trees which make a significant impact to the setting, amenity and character of the area. I'll now move on to summarise the applicant's reason for their appeal. Regarding policy D1, adverse impact on public safety, this relates to the traffic, parking, etc. The applicant suggests that 25 car parking spaces are sufficient and uses the National Roads Development methodology to calculate parking numbers based on floor space of the units, suggesting 5 spaces for the retail unit, 4 spaces for the hairdresser and 3 spaces for each takeaway unit. The appellant adds that because business hours vary, the hairdresser is expected to close at 5 p.m, while the takeaways operate from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. This therefore frees up car parking space. Furthermore, the appeal raises the suggestion that one hot food unit operates as a dark kitchen, offering no over-the-counter service and therefore no requirement for car parking space. It should be noted, the appellant states that drawing 2058-05 revision 1 demonstrates the required 90 metre visibility display has been achieved through the lowering of the existing stone wall to less than 1 metre height and the felling of trees. The appeal also states that this drawing demonstrates that a large vehicle can enter and leave in forward gear. Moving on to policy D7, loss of trees. The loss of trees along the road to the front is to ensure safe visibility displays for vehicles, with 3 trees felled in the car park to ensure there are sufficient car parking spaces. It is pointed out that the site directly across from a Columba Club is grassed, while the commercial nature of the proposal does not require trees to protect residential privacy. Rather, as a commercial venture, the development would benefit from greater visibility. And finally, the applicant's reason statement for policy SG10. The applicant makes the case that the site is accessible by a range of transport modes. The applicant addresses the presumption against out-of-town takeaways by submitting evidence showing there are 18 takeaways in the town centre and 5 takeaways out of the town centre. They point out that this proposal is much smaller in scale than the out-of-centre development at Glasgow Road, which includes hot food premises. Furthermore, the applicant suggests that one unit could operate as a dark kitchen with no over-counter service. In the event of this review being upheld, the following conditions should be attached to any planning permission thus granted. The conditions are extensive, so I will summarise. Condition 1. The development hereby approved must be begun no later than the expiration of 3 years, beginning with the date on which permission was granted. Condition 2. Development shall not commence until samples of the external finishing materials to be used on the proposed developments are approved in writing by the planning authority. Condition 3, all waste arising from construction or demolition must be removed by a licensed waste carrier. Condition 4, development shall not commence until Specific details of the ventilation and extraction systems have been agreed. Condition 5, development shall not commence until the details of all external lighting have been approved by the Planning Authority. Condition 6, noise from a proposed development and any associated equipment shall not exceed residential noise rating curve 25. And finally, condition 7, the proposed tree felling shall not take place during the breeding season. That concludes my summary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brand. I'd like to open it up to the committee now to anyone. Councillor Edlin.
Sorry, this wasn't my questions. I just wondered if you could please repeat condition 3, which I didn't get written down in time.
It's all waste arising from the construction or demolition must be removed by a licensed waste carrier.
Thank you, Mr. Brand. Is there any comments? Provost Montague.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's just in clarification and helping me come to a conclusion about this. My concern is road safety. It is a very busy road. Any time I'm up in Barrhead, no matter what time of day. We were up there earlier on today, this morning, well, late morning. Even at that, it's very difficult to. It's constant traffic and fast traffic too. If there's an event on at the park, you can't get parked. The roads on either side are car after car is parked up on the pavement, half on the road as well. So it is a very busy location. So it does concern me about the whole situation. The 90 metres either side was mentioned about visibility coming out of the site. To me, it seems a right turn in most times of, they say, the opening of the takeaways, 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock, or even during the day, a right turn coming out of that would be very difficult. So it does concern me. The felling of mature trees is also a concern, given the value of trees, but also with some of the residents' concerns and objections about the loss of amenity and how the trees kind of define and separate this possible commercial site from a residential area. So I'm not in favour of the loss of trees, and I don't know what the alternative is to that in the applicants trying to improve the required visibility, 90 metres either side. As far as the conditions that might be attached is concerned, I'm surprised that there isn't one that says along the lines of the development shall not commence until the roads department are satisfied of the road safety situation there. So I would like to be more satisfied with the road safety situation there. So I'd be obliged if those points or concerns could be addressed, please. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Provost. Any other comments? Councillor Lundy.
I'm generally supportive of something getting done with the piece of land, because we all were there. It's in quite a bad state, and I think that someone has got the vision to do something with it. That's positive, but I do have some concerns, and some of them Provost Montague has already raised. The visibility is obviously a concern, and I would agree with Provost Montague that I think maybe a condition could be set in terms of left turns upon exit, because I think it would be extremely difficult to turn right, especially at peak times. I was wondering whether there had been any analysis done on the amount of or the difference of traffic congestion and the people going in and out that had a dark kitchen would actually make and what impact that would have, because you would think that actually there would be a lot of traffic going in and out for delivery drivers and stuff like that. The other concerns I've got are concerning the sites of the graves. There wasn't very much information in there about them, and it was just to see whether there was going to be any impact on the grave sites, because I noticed that some of the trees that were getting felled were right in front of the sites of the graves. So just that's all I've got, I suppose.
Thank you, Councillor Lundy. Councillor Edlin.
I've heard the objections. I've heard what the planner had to say. We went to see the site this morning. I couldn't get over the eyesore of the building that's left there, and it was a social club, and people parked their cars there, went in and out all the time. There was no problems with traffic then. I'm sure it was almost as busy as it is now. I accept that there's visibility issues, but I think they're going to be reducing the wall slightly. I personally think that the objections do not outweigh the benefits, both economically and socially, of this development. I think we do need a little bit of clarification, perhaps, over the position of the separation of the cemetery from the buildings, but I think I may have missed that when I read the planning, and there may be something there already. I don't know if you want to answer that, sir. I'll come back in a minute.
The red line boundary of the application doesn't include the graves. So the graves are sort of beyond, as sort of the council on, beyond the trees. But the red line boundary is really defined by the car park, the edge of a car park. The proposal includes a pathway for pedestrian access, which would run up the side of the car park and separate the. So there would be the graves, a line of trees, a new pedestrian access, and then the car park. But the graves themselves remain out with the red line boundary of the application.
Thank you for that. Can I continue, Chair? Also, I think there's adequate parking spaces, and I think the car park has, in my thoughts, allowed cars, etc., and small trucks, or whatever trucks are used to turn adequately. So I favour the development in the proposal given, subject to perhaps some condition being put in over the visibility that I think can possibly be arranged. But in principle, I favour it.
Thank you, Councillor Endon. Provost.
Can I just clarify a point, please, Chair? And I know that you'll have your contribution to make, and sorry to delay that. Just Councillor Edlin has suggested that lowering the wall would be sufficient to meet the proposal by the Roads Department. Is that sufficient, or the Roads Department proposed that the wall should be demolished to allow visibility? Because either there's visibility or there isn't.
Mr. Brand.
The Roads Department don't provide any guidance or detail on what would be to meet the visibility. Their report states that the applicant hasn't demonstrated the 90 metres. The plans show a reduction of the wall to 500 mil, so 50 centimetres, I believe. That's what's shown on the plan. It's currently, I think, 1.2. So the wall would be halved in height. But in answer to your question, the roads service don't provide a remedy to how the 90 metres might be achieved.
Can I ask for clarification, please, Chairman?
Yes.
You said they're reducing it by half. So by reducing it by half, do the roads department comment on what the increased visibility will be to? I think you may have said 40. Did you say 40 before?
The plans show a visibility display of 20 metres to either side. The plans which were submitted,
That's including the demolition of the wall.
yes,
The reduction of wall.
that's right. Yes. That drawing demonstrated a 20-metre visibility with the wall reduced and the trees removed.
Yeah.
The roads department's comments are not demonstrated. I believe, I take from that what the roads department want is a drawing that they can look at which demonstrates the required 90 metres, that requirement being their recommendation.
It's a recommendation, not a statutory requirement.
The roads department's comments are they recommend refusal on these grounds.
Yeah, but it's not I understand. But, I mean, that building, just to put it in perspective, as a social club up to 2 years ago, people were coming and going with the higher wall and the trees, and there's never been an accident there that I'm aware of. So, I mean, we have to put this into perspective and weigh it against the economic benefits of the development and the social benefits as well. Okay, I think that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Edlin, and thank you, Mr. Brand. I think listening to everybody, I kind of feel the same weight about everything. Everybody said. Provost Montague, you're right. I think we have a duty to look at road safety and keep that into account. But as Councillor Lundy and Councillor Edlin have said, you know, if you look at the building, what's going to happen to it? I think if we were to pass this, we would have to look at certain other conditions coming in before they could even be considered. That's kind of my opinion of it. You know, just to see what they could do with the road, rather than cut down the trees. Can they cut them back, because they are quite overhanging at the moment, in my opinion, and that would make a difference, just cutting them back rather than cutting them down completely. And I think there are a number of conditions which we could set in, which could maybe let this go ahead rather than just blocking it all together. But as I say, Councillor, does anyone have any ideas what we could actually put in condition? I know all the conditions that Mr. Brand said, yes, fair enough, that's good to go. But and I noticed they have the visibility display of 90 metres. They've proposed to reduce the height of that, as we've all discussed. They said the trees have been proposed to be taken down. Could we cut them back rather than take them down? Is that going to do it with a provision that they are maintained to that year on year? I don't know, that's some of the things we could do. Provost?
I think we all feel the same, you know, about improving the situation of the former social club. And Councillor Edlin's point about there hasn't been a problem with traffic before, well, that's because the social club, I would suggest, haven't had a problem with people attending it. So there hasn't been the people attending it, has not been busy, so there's not been the traffic. And that's one of the reasons that and other social clubs close down, is because their numbers fall. So it's not a viable, busy club that you would say, well, that's the way it was before. I do agree with you, Chair, about how can we improve that, but not to the detriment of road safety, that we might live to regret, somebody else might not live to regret it. It's a very busy road, but I do applaud your way forward and how can we do this safely. And also with respect to the trees, you know, I'm not in favour of chopping down trees, so I would certainly be of a mind to refuse it on that ground as well as the road safety. But coming back to your point, what conditions? So I would suggest, I would agree with you about the trees being trimmed back rather than taken away. If any do have to be taken away, then they have to be replaced by alternative trees elsewhere, or even more. As far as the conditions are concerned, to me it would be to the satisfaction of the roads department. The applicants have to demonstrate that visibility in relation to not just what we think, is a suitable height, but what in reality is the suitable height. It should be demonstrated that there is visibility shown that affords traffic or people coming out of there sufficient visibility to keep them and other road users safe. So that's the two conditions that I would suggest to the Satisfaction Roads Department regarding visibility and road safety, which might include, as Councillor Lundy agreed to, that coming out of there you're not allowed to turn right. So what engineering facility could be put in that would stop traffic vehicles from turning right? So that's all my concerns, and if that could be addressed in some kind of set of conditions, then I think most of we're in general agreement with something being done to the benefit of Barrhead in a number of ways. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Provost. Yeah, I quite agree, and obviously that was something that would have to be discussed with roads. If it is a left turn only, that would actually stop the visibility required, because you're not turning it. Obviously that might not stop turning people right, but that's their concern then. They're taking that up to themselves to do that. That's not a planning consideration. But if we put that as part in, you can put up signs saying no right turn. If they choose to do that, that's up to them. But because the roundabout's only 100 yards up the road, so they can just turn and come back down the road after that. So that's I don't know if that's something we could put in. Could we get these conditions in, Mr. Brand?
Chair, if I could maybe just suggest a way forward in terms of process. I mean, I think rather than trying to develop these additional conditions today conclusively, it might be better if Mark takes away what's being suggested. If we continue this application from today, Mark takes away the suggested conditions that have been raised by the elected members and discusses how practical or otherwise they will be with appropriate officers, because it may well be that you'd have to come back to the next meeting to tell you that there's no way practically that what you're looking for could be achieved, in which case you might then be minded to refuse the appeal. But however, if the conditions that you're suggesting be applied were able to be applied, you'd be in a better place in terms of granting the application subject to conditions.
Sorry, I accept you seems to do. Sorry, Chairman, if you don't mind. There's talk. I mean, the Provost is making comments on her own as if they are the be-all and end-all of the discussion. Pardon me saying it that way. But the roads stuff, the information from roads, is their opinion. It's not a statutory fact. The house next door has the same problem with right turns as the people in the building that proposed work, the proposed development. And there's nobody seems to care about that, or seems to be worried about people crashing their cars as they turn right from the house next door. So while I hear what is being said, I feel the safety issues being raised over the exit from the car park, and also the concerns of the turning, etc., in the car park are over-exaggerated and not in the real world. And that's why I'm saying that I realise we have to be conscious of safety, and we have to take into account what the Roads Department says, but taking account does not make it that we have to be overwhelmed by these decisions. We have to bear cognizance to them, and that's as far as it should go, in my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Edlin, and thank you, Provost. I think it's not just the road, it's the trees as well. We're looking at the whole thing. We're looking at everything that kind of incumbent here, and I think what Mr. Daly says is probably a good idea, to go away and let's see what's feasible first, and then just take it from there, rather than making a snap decision here today, which I'd have to refuse or grant when we come back, when we've got a bit more information to us with what the conditions actually are going to be set, if they're feasible, and then maybe come back after that and just continue this then.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
Would that be okay then, Mr. Daly?
Chair, that's absolutely fine, and as you're aware, we moved to an 8-weekly cycle, but we will in fact have a window of opportunity to bring this application back earlier if we're able to get the information in relation to the proposed conditions for that the board have suggested, and we would make every attempt to do that. We're conscious of the fact that the application has been going on for some time, and I'm sure the applicant is keen to get a decision one way or the other, so we will do everything we can to get back to you as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Just for clarity, it would only be the four of us that would be able to comment on this the next time, yes? Okay. Well, if we're all okay with that, I'll just put that to Mr. Burt to agree with. Is that okay, Mr. Burt? Yeah.
So the proposal before the local review body is for the application to be continued at this point and brought back to a future meeting when clarity on the revised conditions can be given. Is that acceptable to everyone? Agreed?
Okay, thank you everybody for your time and patience here today. I don't think we have any other business to conclude, so that would conclude this meeting of the local review body today, and thank you again. Thank you everybody.